Today we are challenging a chef and a home cook to recreate the world's oldest recipe. Boys, any idea what we could be making?
How old are we going? And was it written down?
You might be best off asking Ben what the first recipe he ever made was.
Brilliant. I told you, fish pie. It's probably not that. Potatoes only came over from the Andes in some time. Ask the Spanish.
We're going old. Ben, lift up the card in front of you, see what we're cooking.
Oh.
Nettle pudding.
Quite close to home. Nettle pudding.
So according to our research, it is suggested that nettle pudding is the earliest recipe known. It's from around 6000 BC, which puts us into the Stone Age, and it was a dish with easily accessible ingredients that could be hunted or foraged in Britain.
Where did you find this information? Because
they weren't writing anything down then.
No.
So what do you mean a recipe? So last year, a similar thing, 8,000 years ago, the archaeological carbon dating thing of the seeds of the grapes in the amphora in Georgia put wine back to a vintage of 8,000 years.
Yeah.
But they still weren't writing stuff down.
No, so we're looking at 8,024 years ago.
Exactly.
Right, so behind you, you've got all of the ingredients that you're going to need to make it. And Baz, in front of you, you have some cards with a very vague recipe on them. But just to be fun, we've put the recipe steps in a random order.
great. Cut into thick slices, serve, add a pot of simmering venison.
Yes, nice.
Not first. Cook the pudding until meat is done. Make a dough that way. Make a dough, cook a pudding, add it to venison, and serve.
No, I'd say that. You're going to cook it in that.
Oh, you cook it in that? Oh, really?
Because I think we did this recently with Josh and Max Miller. Pudding as in a steamed or a suet kind of pudding. Pudding, the word from boudin, which was French. I mean, 6,000 years ago, they weren't a nation, so it's kind of irrelevant. My history stops. So just checking.
Yep.
No supermarkets back then. No. Just what was foraged.
Everything was locally sourced because it had to be. Everything within a sort of a few miles, and also not just because of being able to get there, but the energy that you would need to go and get the food and bring it back and then cook it and turn it into something edible and nutritionally edifying.
Is this sorrel?
Might be. I thought it was young spinach at first.
It's
it's definitely sorrel.
Is it? I always find it smells a bit.
Taste it. Lemony.
Lemony,
citrusy. Beautiful. Like things like lovage, it's an old-fashioned.
Oh, it's really zingy.
Herb that we've fallen out of love with, but it's delicious.
It is quite old-fashioned. Yeah, about 8,000 years ago.
Ironically, it still exists.
Yeah.
We have venison, chives, watercress, sorrel, and stingy nettles, which I've had in tea and in soups.
Ow! And what's that one?
What do you?
Smelling it. It's kind of like tea-like. I imagine you could make a good tea from it.
What is?
Dandelion.
Oh, it's dandelion.
Okay, right.
So we've definitely recognised dandelion, the big yellow flowers.
And then this is quite a grainy flour. Is it normal flour?
Hang on, 8,000 years ago, so farming did exist, but did it exist here? That was Mesopotamia.
Wasn't widespread.
So this would be a wild grain that's ground.
So this is barley. Flour.
Okay, right.
We know that things like wheat and barley existed. They were used back then because they were found in settlements dating back to that time, and signs of early agriculture have been discovered on the Isle of Wight.
So our first step, I think, is to make a dough with chopped herbs, flour and water. No fat. I would associate something that to be pudding-like if it's been enriched with a fat. No?
Suet pudding, yes, but I think pudding literally is just from the shape of our word for pudding.
Oh, okay.
Is just from the shape of boudin, which was a black pudding from France. Is this post-rationalised? As in, did they find it and they've worked out what was in it? Because they can't possibly have found. We weren't writing then, were we? Were they?
So yeah, I think this has had some post-rationalisation of what would have been available, what people would have done with it, and what's been passed down through generations.
Are these still stingy?
Yes, little bit. Ah, yes, little bit.
Good, you do. I've done these 3.
Damn it.
Sous chef, you do that one.
Oh, great. Give me the bloody nettles.
Interestingly, everything that we kind of looked at seems to have started around 6000 BC. Winemaking in Tbilisi, in Georgia, this recipe. Salt use was around 6000. It sounds to me like no one really knew what happened before then, so just said, yeah, 6000 BC sounds like a good time to state it as.
I remember because I wanted to do it in a video once.
This is just so annoying.
You all right, Baz?
Yeah, sure. Do they have blenders back then?
In that case, they might already have some salt. I imagine they would also have ground up spices. I imagine there would have been lots of spices, but just not as we know them now. So things like juniper would have grown in and around our climate. And lots of different spices come from leaves and stalks and stems and bark and things of trees. What I like about this, and imagine about the diets of those 6000 BC communities, is they would probably be more biodiverse than ours. I reckon they were probably eating a more variety of nuts and seeds and meats and fish and leaves and grains because they're foraging throughout the year and they're not relying on the same rice, corn, potatoes, etc., etc.
It's the very essence of seasonal eating.
Nettles in.
Ow!
So are we going to add any, we've not been given it, are we going to add any spice, a little bit of juniper?
No, I don't
Or a little
know.
bit of...
Stick to what is on the card.
They wouldn't have had black pepper in Britain.
So Baz, what kind of consistency of your dough are you looking for?
I'm not sure, because almost as I'm working it, the water from the greens are coming out as well. I feel like you're going to make a loose pasta dough.
It's definitely got to hold its shape into a ball, but I don't think you want it crackly and crumbly. And you're right, as it cooks, there will be a bit more moisture come out of the greenery. What's interesting about this is I imagine if they were making barley flour and water slurries, porridges, breads, doughs, whatever was left would just naturally ferment.
Yep.
Maybe catch a bit of rainwater.
Are we going to try and roll these into balls?
One big
ball.
boudin. And we've also been given a cheesecloth, which is basically going to steam it in. So we know it's got to cook in a pan of simmering venison. So I reckon just one big ball, like one big steamed pudding. It will take a while. Back it in the middle. In this sense, it operates a little bit like the fufu that we did with cassava flour or cassava root and smash that then gets steamed and boiled. And I think it will just tear off into pieces that we'll eat with the simmered venison.
Moving forwards a bit in time, the Romans used nettles along with meat in order to tenderize the meat. So cooking a nettle pudding in simmering meat works 2 ways. You get the starchiness, and then you also get the tenderization of the meat.
Oh.
So this is the bit that does feel odd to us, because we would typically
Make it taste nice.
saute off some veg maybe in a stew first with oil, probably olive oil. I don't imagine olives were growing in Britain that long ago, but we might have had oil from other things, sunflower seeds and rape seeds and stuff. But I think this is just simple.
So about 6000 BC, they did have kilns, so they were able to make clay and pottery.
Right, okay. It's so hard to work out.
Cutlery.
Which was the amphoras that we saw in Georgia about the same time.
Yeah.
So we need to add this to our pot of simmering venison. But I do think there'll be enough flavour that will come out of here that will turn that into almost a tea that will be simmering our venison in.
Oh, right, so the water's... Oh, right, okay.
I love how confused you are by this process, Baz, as if, you know, we should be able to relate to something that happened 8,000 years ago.
But I've seen Victorian recipes that are
try.
very similar to this. Not necessarily simmering like this, but we still make dumplings. You're right, we add some fat to it, but we still do that process. If that was rolled and cut, it's just pasta. It's just a herby pasta in the water.
Currently, it feels more like a medicinal process, like we're making our medicines than a recipe.
So yeah, nettles were used for medicine. They're also used for cloth making as well. It was once believed nettles could restore circulation and warm the body after winter. They're also used in many other applications, including colouring World War II army uniforms green.
Ooh.
But that...
Skipping forwards a bit.
I mean, you'd skip forward quite a bit, but all foods were either hot or cold.
Yeah.
And they were about the humours, weren't they? And if something like a stinging nettle that's probably you're going to think that's going to make you warming, and it does make sense.
Yeah.
There's a logic to it. Okay, literally, I think we just leave that now. To barely blip away.
So it's not even simmering. That's a warm bath.
If I was going to sous vide venison, I wouldn't even do it at a simmering temperature.
Right, okay, yeah.
It would be even low to stop those, but this is what we're doing. So I think it is just a gentle blip. And in theory, when the meat's done, the pudding's done. Cook the pudding until the meat is done. In the meantime,
what would they do back then?
take some barley and turn it into beer, probably.
Boys, we've let that simmer away for a couple of hours and then let it rest in the water for another hour or so. How's it looking?
The venison is simmered.
It's grey.
Have you ever used that word to describe venison before?
I mean, it's a very lean cut of venison, and it's not how we would typically cook it now.
I think it's safe to eat.
So how different is that than you'd expect venison to be now?
I'd never cook it this way. Every protein a little overcooked, and in a couple of hours, not quite enough to break down the collagen in between. So it's that sort of middle ground, not quite best of either world.
Well, the venison was kind of the side dish to what we were looking at today, which was the nettle pudding.
What's this going to be? Like, I'm expecting a really hard dumpling.
Well, the instructions say cut into thick slices. So it's going to be something we can slice. And I think it's going to be a chewy bread.
Bread?
A cooked dough. Well, as in not a baked fluffy one,
Nope.
but a dense, chewy bread.
Loaf, okay.
Soggy bread.
Soggy, yummy, yummy, yummy.
I actually think this is going to be quite special.
Doesn't look dissimilar from the venison. It looks like a massive...
It's a soggy mess, isn't it, really?
But from here, it looks like a massive burger.
It's a little slimy on the outside because you've got the sort of the starchy bit from the barley.
Yeah.
Just doing the starchy thing. But that's... I think this is going to be all right. I'm quite interested, intrigued, and looking forward to this.
Yeah.
This I'm already disappointed in. I knew it was going to happen. That's what happens if you simmer a lean cut of meat.
I think if you both bring your voices down an octave when you talk about how fine that's going to be, it'll be more believable.
It's going to be fine.
Even the fresh green herbs, the chive, the watercress, the sorrel, we would normally not cook this long. It goes in last minute and keeps its freshness. However, I am hopeful that it's not going to be terrible.
Kick off your new year the right way with a burst of flavour and good habits. Challenge yourself to make more home-cooked meals and you'll feel the difference in your wallet and to your health.
This new challenge on Sidekick isn't just about cooking, it's a commitment to creating healthy and delicious new habits in 2024. Make this year a good one.
All you need to do is cook up 7 recipes in January and you could be in with a chance of winning a first prize of £1,000 or a second prize of £500.
Terms and conditions dictate that I cannot enter, but you can by downloading Sidekick now and trying it free for 30 days.
Do we have to fast forward that bit? Terms and conditions apply.
I know we're making the world's oldest recipe, but I didn't expect it to look so old. Seeing as everything we had
Where
was
were
fresh.
your expectations? They're not eating it. People weren't eating this in a restaurant.
I know, but we're using really fresh, vibrant ingredients. But it looks like it's been there for 8,000 years.
Let's give it a slice and see what happens. Oh.
Oh.
It doesn't really slice.
Oh.
It's more like a sort of peas pudding texture. Think the slow cooking of green veg like that becomes a bit pond-like
I guess I would.
in its aroma. And that's the nettle,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Because it's a little bit like a bog.
No!
Look, I think we're being very unfair. They were an incredibly intelligent community.
Yeah.
They just hadn't got access to the things we do now in terms of travel. But they probably, almost certainly, knew an awful lot more about food, where to get it, what to eat, what not to eat.
And they
than we ever will.
absolutely wasted nothing because the food that they got, they grew, they hunted, they foraged. And if they wasted any of it, they didn't know where the next meal was coming from.
Word of advice to them. I think this would be better with wheat flour rather than barley flour.
Yeah.
And I know they weren't yet farming, but there was wheat around, is my understanding. But I'm sure they came to learn that.
Jay, do you want to have a bit here? All together?
I'll come in.
It
Cheers.
smells exactly how I expect it to. It tastes like...
Actually. As a texture thing, as usual, we are used to things that have been seared or fried or breaded or crumbed. Imagine a slice of that panade with a little bit of brown trout. Some acidity and some fat in the form of like a tartar or a mayonnaise or something. And you get closer on flavour profile. I think the texture's terrible.
What I would say is the longer you chew it, the worse it gets. But you have to keep on chewing it because it doesn't disappear.
Have you been to a brewery when they've been making the brew and is it the wort or whatever it is that's left over afterwards that's been cooked, the cooked barley that's been used and spent? This feels like it's been used and spent.
The thing is, this here is
I went back for another bit. I don't know why I did that.
This is the world's oldest recipe. Recipe would imply you're taking ingredients and doing something with it. I think you'd be better off just eating the ingredients as they were.
Yeah, 8,000 years ago, this is a way of being able to get all of the nutrition that you need to live. You've got the meat with the protein, you've got the starchiness.
There is no fat here, but I imagine that would have come from nuts, seeds, and eating those, and then fatty fish, oily fish, and the fattier cuts of meat which we haven't eaten here. It's quite moreish. It's incredibly vegetal.
No.
And that is a stinging it all, because sorrel, chive, and watercress, I love. That's very vegetal.
So obviously, as a cooking challenge, it's a very strange challenge to put you through. What did you make of it?
Instantly, it's fascinating because you're limited only to what would have been around. I still am confused where it came from, because this can only be guesswork based on archaeological finds and what would have been around. But therefore, as so much of history, it's making do with what you've got. And surviving to a point where now we're here thanks to them and thanks to this.
We're so lucky to be living in this time, enjoying the food that we enjoy now, and not that.
All right, just imagine for a moment a slice of that, pan-fried crispy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Poached egg.
Oh, boom!
They had chickens back then.
Yeah.
Did they? Have they come from Malaysia at that point?
No, they're still dinosaurs, aren't they? So it's quite...
You are unbelievable.
What?
Comment down below, let us know, did you enjoy this, and what other dishes from history should we be trying to recreate?
Perhaps more recent. I'd like to recreate what was in Otzi's stomach. The Iceman.
Nice, man.
I thought she was on one of the judges in Strictly.
I don't know what you're both talking about.